Hey, what the fuck, man? Hey, yo, nerds. Today I'm going on a little heist, you know, looking for something very specific. I hope I've got the right place and the right attic and the right time. Oh, fuck yeah. Well, nerds, I think I've just hit the jackpot. Check these out. 100% genuine cursed ass analog horror tapes. Look at these things, god motherfucking damn. And look, I think we even beat the protagonist to him too. All in a day's work. Yeah, just look at these things. God, the cobwebs, the horror, the jack-o'-lantern. Man, I sure hope my expected lifespan is not shortened by watching these bad boys. Yeah, what gives? Anyway, now we got what we came for. I reckon it's about time to fuck off back to the radio tower, you know? I mean, I'll make sure to like grab some popcorn on the way back, so we're all covered there, you know? Yeah, see you there. Way Today, it shouldn't really be that big of a surprise for you. If you know how to read, you probably looked at the title. We're covering Dreams of an Insomniac today. Which, if you didn't already know, which I mean, you probably do kind of. If you've seen this channel, you've probably at least seen Pastra. But if you didn't already know, Dreams of an Insomniac is a criminally underrated analog horror that's been kind of chilling on YouTube for about a year now. And even though the story's still ongoing, as of the recording of this video, we have a solid set of 3 uploads to dig into. And I was taking a little look around to actually have a look at some of the different videos made on this topic, but there was actually a surprisingly small amount of videos made on this series. And literally, I could only find 1 theory video on this thing. Everything else just kind of seems to be reaction videos and kind of summary videos, which means that this series is essentially a clean slate for me to dig my teeth into, and turn on the stove and get cooking with the finest ingredients to make an absolutely fucking atrocious theory. But still, before we prepare our ingredients, just please go check out the show first. Trust me when I say this one truly is a standout amongst most of the horror stuff we've been getting recently on YouTube, both on the quality side of things and the fear factor, which is honestly something that a lot of people kind of been missing out on. Like, you genuinely can tell the amount of passion that's put behind this thing. Okay, right, cool, so let's get to it. Now, before I get cooking up a game theory, Hollow Knight level theory, and get my metaphorical ass kicked from every direction, only for it to get proven wrong in the next episode that comes out and then I end up looking like a complete goon. First off, we gotta find the questions we want to answer, and then gather our evidence and our suspects, and also note down anything of significance. And to help us in our detective work, I've cooked up these! Our very own professional character portfolios to note down any interesting people and note down any shit they've done that are definitely not just scraps of plyboard torn out of a wall. And we will be slamming them on this thing, our very own super sleuth pinboard made for collecting evidence and insane scramblings that is definitely not a PNG I stole off the first page of Google. Alright, now we've got all of our sweet detective gear in check, let's dive straight into episode 1. Or 0, should I say, for some reason. Dreams of an Insomniac Haunted Halloween PSA. Yo, before we begin, wee woo, spoiler alert, yeah, woo. Now, if you're here, you've either already watched episode 1, or you do not give a damn. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. For this first bit, I want to take a little bit of time to go through the first upload of Dreams of an Insomniac, because in terms of, like, theory fuel and stuff, this is where, like, the real meat is. This is the, like, this is the payload. I will be mentioning the second upload, but unfortunately the third one, we just don't really have enough to go off of yet. Like, sure, it does present a bunch of mysteries and shit, but I just don't think there's enough to go off of to try and solve it right now. Either that, or I'm a fucking idiot, which might be the case. But for this video, we're just gonna be cooking with episodes 1 and 2, because yeah. Now, we immediately have to whip out our first character sheet here, and that is for Tommy Merrick, this random fucker in somebody's attic, who, for this series, almost kind of acts as like a player character, if you will. Whilst this isn't actually an ARG, it's just an analog horror series that's really fucking cool. Dreams of an Insomniac immediately hits me with something I haven't actually seen done before in in any other horror series like this, which is to immediately assign us, the viewer, as a character in the world, which honestly kind of struck me as a bit of a weird move in the beginning on like first watching, but later I kind of warmed up to the idea, as what it kind of allows the series to do is to immediately present you with a form of mystery that we need to be on the lookout for clues for how to solve it. So as soon as the tape begins, we are immediately told that our POV is of Tommy Merrick, who is our first character, who we're pretty quickly told found the tapes that we're going to be watching throughout the series whilst visiting their old family home. We're also told that something feels very familiar about these tapes, and that Tommy thinks they might be haunted. Yeah, about that. Might is a bit generous, so we'll make sure to take note of both of these. The whole familiarity thing being very important to my theory down the road. As Tommy watches the tapes, they begin to hear and see things that shouldn't be there. That also seems important, so we'll be taking note of that. So, on the contents of our first tape, we have a news story talking about a really fucking weird break-in to a Halloween store called Grimzo's, in which an intruder breaks a window and enters the store, only to steal one Halloween outfit, no money or anything, and then just wreck the place and leave. So first off, regarding this break-in, Grimzo is actually a character made by Pastra a while ago that apparently was originally going to be the channel mascot. And I was kind of tempted to make a character sheet for him to fill in the future, but right now he doesn't seem very relevant at all. And so far in the series, I believe this is the only instance of Grimzo being noted, apart from this one dude who comes up literally the next scene whose name ends in Grim. So at least for now, Grimzo is not getting his character card. So yeah, cry about it. So, okay, right, let's take note of this event on our awesome pinboard, and also whip out our second character card for none other than the costume thief. So far we don't really know much about them apart from the details of the crime they committed, in which they broke into Grimzo's only to take just that one suit, which appears to be a form of like Halloween-based prison outfit, which is very strange indeed, so I'll be making sure to take special note of that. We're also told that a few people, including that one guy I mentioned earlier whose name ends in Grim, I don't know if that's linked to the store or not, believe that it's just a fake story made to drum a little bit of excitement for the newspaper in this boring old town. He also tells us that nothing this newspaper says can be trusted, which, I mean, is a pretty bold claim coming from this random guy, but I'll make sure to take note of it anyway, you know. I'll be keeping that in peripheral vision, you know the word, you know what I'm trying to say. But I'll be taking note of it anyway. And I'll be writing it in this fancy red Sharpie to show that it is not confirmed, but implied. And I will be continuing to do the same for everything else in this video, so any text you see on these character cards are in red is either not confirmed or heavily implied. And that's about it for this first tape. It ends off with us being told to not trust anybody in this Halloween costume. And after being shown a load of really weird red staticky image that I have no fucking clue what's going on in, we move on to tape 2 of episode 1, the Halloween of '86, which is our first major event, the Halloween night of '86, in which Pastor Alex Williams, who witnessed the events, tells us about what happened that fateful night. Many children started vanishing the second 6 struck and ended an hour later on Halloween. These are assumed to be kidnappings, as no traces of them can be found. Throughout the incident, the children that went missing were, and we will be taking note of all of these, Jason McDonald, John Thompson, Ashley Wright, William Lewis, Norman Harris, and Sam Wilson. These are completely normal kids, they're definitely not AI generated. After the incident, police took the rest of the night to look for the culprit, but they had no luck. The only thing police were able to gather was an eyewitness account who described the kidnapper as wearing an orange and red striped costume and also wears a mask with horns with bright yellow eyes and teeth. which, I mean, sounds a little bit familiar. So did you guys hear that scream outside? It's probably just a cat or something. It's all good. Okay, yeah, back to it. So I'll be noting all of this down on the costume thief's character sheet. Because I mean, like, yeah, it's a really obvious tie to make. But something I haven't really seen anybody notice is that it's not necessarily confirmed that these are the two same people. Which I know is a massive stretch, but technically it's never actually confirmed whether or not these two guys are the same person. So for now at least I'll be noting it down in red. They also inform us not to approach the kidnapper by any means, which is some incredibly good advice, considering what we're about to learn. It also seems a little suspicious that the news department wouldn't want anybody to try and actually approach the kidnapper and try and take them down, even in a time of crises. So telling everyone to just kind of stay away from a person in this outfit is a bit weird. Like, is that it? And for that, I'll be landing the news channel +1 suspicious point, which is probably like, imagine it being kind of like the equivalent of commenting -rep on someone's Steam profile because they were cheating in TF2 casual. So yeah, the news network also has a character card now. Might as well make that. We're also gonna have to whip out another character card for Officer Kruger, who, for the next little bit of the story, will kind of be acting as the closest thing these tapes have to, like, a protagonist, I guess? So this guy will certainly be getting a card. And he makes a public statement to all the people of the town, essentially saying, like, yeah, I'm a father, these kidnappings aren't very cool. I'm gonna try pretty hard to make sure that this guy gets absolutely fucking dunked on. And as his image fades away, we see, what the fuck is that? Oh my god. That is going straight on the shit list. I do not like that. That's totally not ominous at all. Way to bring comfort to the people of this town during these trying times. Anyway, after whatever the fuck that was, we're told to make sure to keep all of our windows and doors locked during Halloween, and once again to not trust anybody wearing that costume. And that about rounds it off for tape number 2. Moving on to number 3, we get a police training tape for the East Ridge County Police. And we also know that a full 3 years have passed since our inciting incident. This tape was made during 1989, in which we get to actually see some security camera photos of the break-in that happened. And it started at exactly 6 AM on October 6th in 1986. Whoa, it's the spooky number. Gripes! We're shown footage of the store in which the lights turn on by themselves, but no other disturbances are seen. And then motion is detected within the store as items are thrown around and damaged. And then, not long after that, we get our first yeah, now we're getting into the real meat. So what we learn from these like 15 seconds alone completely changes everything for the story. So first off, the biggest news first. Our costume thief, we can scratch out that name and replace it with the infinitely more badass name, the East Ridge Demon. And now, with a wrestling name so hard it will make Virgil the Kentucky Butcher proud, you know what? I say it's about time we give our costume thief a brand new shiny character card. You know, it's a really special one. I used an entire stick of Prit on this, and a whole bottle of glitter. Anyway, let's get to filling it out with everything that we know now. So first on the list, this thing is not human. Now, when it comes to actually deciding what this thing is, we're just told it's a demon. It's also referred to as an entity, which is very vague. Now, if you're already familiar with Pastra's channel, you might know what and who this thing is. Whilst the creator of the series has come forward and said that anything featured on his channel before this isn't canon, I will still be using a little bit of it since we have so little to go on, and some of it I think is pretty safe to assume that some of it ties into the new series. So this creature, at least on the YouTube channel, is known as Clyde, which is a pretty funny name for this horrifying demon, and at least from the channel, we are aware that Clyde is part of a fictional species called the Veldagoon. So for now, I will be noting down on this guy's card that he is both named Clyde and a Veldagoon, but they're both going in red. If you also keep up to date with the channel, you will also know that there are some other Veldagoon that we actually know about already, and a full list of all the current known Veldagoon that are like kind of around the channel are Clyde, Winfrey, Jack, Klaus, and the Flog. And I don't really know too much about the origins of these guys, but apparently a lot of that stuff came from a Discord server that's currently private. And I did manage to scrounge a couple messages here and there, but I haven't had much luck. And I mean, most of this isn't canon anyway, so all of this stuff will just kind of be used for fuel for speculation. But good news on the other hand, I did manage to find some info regarding the life cycle of a Veldagoon, which I find very interesting considering some of the stuff we see in these tapes. So apparently Veldagoon starts out as kind of like a void stage, as just kind of a puddle. Coming into contact with this liquid makes you go insane a little bit, essentially. After a while, it will kind of develop into a bit of an ooze and will start hunting down creatures, and after consuming them will start to build itself a physical body out of those that it consumes. From what I can tell, a lot of the characters are also named after humans that they've consumed, and I find that very interesting, and I'll be using it for a bit of speculation later. I personally think though that since then, the Veldagoon have completely changed for the series. I personally believe that the rules have entirely changed for the Veldagoon. I'll be going into a lot more detail about that later, but at least for now, I think it's relatively safe to put the fact that the demon's name might be Clyde, and that it's a Veldagoon on this thing's character sheet. The CCTV footage also tells us that out of the owner of Grimzo's, the news channel, and the police department, at least one of them was aware of the true nature of the break-in, which I would say pretty easily grants each one of these parties one suspicious point. Things aren't looking too good for you, news channel, I gotta say. We also now have much more accurate depictions of this thing's charming mug, as well as a very close-up photo, which is damn, can I just say, this is fucking impressive, by the way. If for some reason you've watched this far and you haven't checked out this series yet, please, man. In an age of Hello Neighbors and Garten of Banbans, it is exactly this sort of stuff that reminds me why I love horror so much. If I can at least get some of you to go over and check this series out, I'll be happy. Okay, let's get back to it. So, immediately after being shown the footage of the CCTV camera, we're told that Officer Kruger, who is now a surviving victim of the demon, was able to actually communicate what transpired with his encounter with the demon after apparently multiple years of intensive mental and physical therapy. So it's safe to say this thing kinda fucked him up a bit. Whilst it isn't gone in detail about what actually happened during the encounter, we are told about how people now know how to combat the entity better thanks to his knowledge. The Veldagoon are capable of creating hallucinations to those who are nearby, making it incredibly hard to contain it. We're also told that physical contact with the demon at all is incredibly dangerous, as it causes a reaction with symptoms such as, discoloration of the skin, maybe a little bit of a cough, bit of a runny nose, what else? It doesn't really sound that bad, does it? That sounds a little bit unhealthy, I'm not gonna lie. So I think it's pretty safe to say that right now Officer Kruger is like every genre of fucked. So yeah, if you're mortal, don't go poking the Veldagoon. It's not the best idea. Apart from that, the rest of this tape is just telling us a little bit more stuff, like how we know now that the demon is actually very intelligent, and knows that it's being hunted, which can I just quickly say is absolutely awesome. As if this guy wasn't terrifying enough, he's actually smart, which is something you almost never see from monsters in this genre, which to me is one of the most terrifying factors about this guy. This isn't just some form of brutish killer. This thing is capable of planning out its moves and attacks. All of that combined with its ability to cause hallucinations makes for a fucking incredible antagonist. I mean, he also looks like my socks. But that's all for tape 3. Now we move on to our 4th tape, the haunted Halloween PSA itself. It starts off with a movie clip with a guy getting grabbed by a bunch of skeleton hands out of the ground and they're like, we're here to kill you and stuff. I don't know. I mean, this is probably some form of like zombie movie, but I don't take this as like a huge thing in the lore. I think it's just literally what was on TV at the time when the PSA was first aired. I mean, it might be a hit for something, I don't know. More on that later. But our awesome zombie movie gets interrupted by probably the most class PSA emergency system I've ever seen. I mean, just listen to this. I know their job was warning us about the like unfathomable horrors that lay outside tonight, but they did not have to go so hard on the background music. Whilst this like kind of weird aesthetic for this VHS tape kind of caught me off guard and I was a bit puzzled by it at first. Like, why would this look like this when it's an actual live PSA about a very real demon that is going to put you through every single genre of fuckery imaginable? Ah yes, perfect time to call for some somber tones and some lusciously smooth jazz and cartoony visuals. But then after a little bit I realized that this is actually some pretty cool world building. Like, obviously this is on Halloween night and it's being broadcasted on live television, meaning that the majority of people watching this are gonna be families and their kids. And obviously the police wouldn't want to cause any major freakouts due to the PSA. So yeah, pretty cool world building. Awesome jazz aside, the steps for avoiding the East Ridge demon seem pretty simple. You know, step 1, keep your windows and doors locked, that seems like a pretty clear one. You know, step 2, don't go out and get your ass kicked after the curfew. And good old step 3,
you do not hear the knocking at your doors or windows.
Hey, some of us are trying to enjoy the film. Fucking hell, some people these days. Hey, can you tell me that last one again? I didn't quite catch that.
Rule number 4.
Oh, okay, nice, sweet. Wait, what the fuck? You know, I was looking for a Halloween outfit. Volume warning. Okay, alright, here's the deal. You're gonna hand over the funny outfit and we aren't gonna have any problems, okay? But why the fuck did you... Oh! You know, this can only go one of 2 ways, buddy. Either I get that funny outfit or I don't know. I didn't really plan this out at all. Sorry about that slight interruption to your scheduled viewing. Everything should be back on track now. Hopefully nothing else made it through whilst I was stealing those tapes. But, we'll have to wait and see. Also, you know, don't worry about Clyde. I dropped him off by the Halloween store, so he can just steal that thing again. He will regenerate shortly and will be back to terrorizing people soon. So, you know, I didn't just cancel Dreams of an Insomniac. He'll be fine. And if you saw me touch him and shit, don't worry. This Discord message here says that it only works on humans. So, you know, we should all be good. Now that we've indulged ourselves in some of the finest cuisine analog horror has to offer, I think it's about time to make an absolutely fucking god-awful theory. Now, you may be wondering, what is this god-awful theory that you have written scriptures about, and that will be engraved onto the castle walls for generations to come and admire? Okay, let's do this properly, right? Drum roll, come on, drum roll please. Ta-da!
alright. I know that sounds bad.
Okay, I am not crazy. Just please give me a little minute to explain, just a little tiny bit, okay? Now, I know you've probably got like a gazillion questions, but I'm here now to answer all of them. Well, I mean, probably not all of them, since I can't really talk to you, but still, hey. First off,
how could he be a Veldagoon? He's like a human and stuff.
Well, I mean, you're probably right, but like, for the sake of the theory, no, you're wrong, because check this out. Let's wind this tape all the way back to the beginning, straight back to when we are first introduced to Tommy Merrick. We're told that he found the tapes after returning to his family home, and that he thinks that they're haunted because they're displaying stuff that they shouldn't. Well, what does this tell us? This doesn't tell much about the circumstances under which he's visiting his old family home. And second of all, there's like no explanation given for why the tapes are displaying stuff that they shouldn't. And unless these tapes are actually haunted by a completely separate system of ghosts to Veldagoon, which would be pretty weird, and we have literally nothing to go off with that, so I'm not really going to theorize about that. If we bear this in mind, then this must mean one of two things if the tapes have genuinely changed contents. One, there is a Veldagoon in close proximity to Tommy whilst he's watching the tapes, or two, Tommy himself has been subject to the, effects of touching a Veldagoon himself, and is suffering hallucinations causing this. Well, I mean, it's either that, or it's just that the tapes are actually legitimately haunted by ghosts, which is a completely different, system from everything that we know about Dreams of an Insomniac. Just straight ghosts isn't something we've even heard about, so I don't even think that's, worth speculating about. At least yet. So, just how could Tommy Merrick be a Veldagoon? Well, that's the thing. I don't think he is yet. I think he's undergoing a transformation into a Veldagoon. Well, how the fuck does that work? Where did that come from? Well, if we take a look at the only other person who's survived an attack from a Veldagoon, and then take a look at his symptoms, then things start to line up a little bit more. So, earlier, when I said that I think the rules for the Veldagoon have completely changed, this is exactly what I mean. I think in the full series of Dreams of an Insomniac, I think the Veldagoon act more similarly to a virus in this series. If we take a look at the second episode of Dreams of an Insomniac, we learn that Officer Kruger, despite the public thinking he's dead, has actually been taken in to be studied by a corporation called the Lankman Foundation. Which, I mean, I won't really be going into much detail until we get some more from Dreams of an Insomniac, but in real short terms, it's a foundation set up by this guy called Lankman for the, containment and, study of Veldagoon. They ain't getting a character card or anything, I'll save that for next time, But if we take a little look at the symptoms experienced by Kruger, then things start to line up just a little bit more. The description of the symptoms being severe weight loss, fusing of the bone and flesh, bleeding from every orifice, just casual stuff. I thought it was just kind of there to scare you. As in you probably wouldn't want that to happen to you, would you? So this is scary. But no, I've realised that these are actually very specific things. Let's take a look at what the Veldagoon actually are like, and compare some drawings of them. First off, all the Veldagoon, a common feature of them all, is these long gangly limbs which don't really seem to have any bones in them, which honestly kind of look more like tentacles, and some of which actually do just straight up have tentacles. The fusing of bone and flesh could just be that beginning, maybe? Teeth growing where they shouldn't be? Check. All of these guys' teeth look relatively fucked up. Severe weight loss? I mean, most of the drawings I can find of these guys, they all look relatively, not bulky, they're all pretty skinny. I mean, apart from that Winfrey dude, but it looks like he's almost got kind of a weird shell thing. But on the inside, he still looks relatively skinny. What the fuck is this? Bleeding from every orifice? Well, I mean, that would make sense, because this one Discord message does say that the Veldagoon are actually hollow. So, basically, all of this I take as pretty damn condemning evidence that the Veldagoon can spread. Plus, it also really contextualizes this Discord message from a couple years back. Something that's no longer human, huh? Well, I think we know what that means now. Well, at least right now, because if we also take into, consideration the fact that hallucinations are also a consequence of coming in contact with a Veldagoon, I think that might be what's going on here with Tommy Merrick. Maybe after coming in contact with the Veldagoon, he revisits his family home only for the effects to take effect then. Heck, maybe he's even aware of what's happening to him and that's why he's decided to come back here for the memories. I mean, it's kinda sad, but I mean, analog horror's never really been the most upbeat genre of video, you know? And if there's one thing horror writers like to do, it's recontextualize shit that we thought we understood. I mean, with varying degrees of success, but still, hey. So like, what kind of implications would the Veldagoon spreading have on the story going forward? Well, I mean, it could open up a whole new alleyway of like speculation stuff, because now Veldagoon that already exist within the story could have originally been humans and could still directly just be humans. I mean, hey look, here's a little bit of food for thought, right? Episode 3 ended off with us actually seeing what ended up happening to Officer Kruger, right? Essentially being yoinked by the Lankman Foundation and being put under study. Now, we have actually gotten out quite a few teasers as to what will be held in the next upload of Dreams of an Insomniac. As for one, we know it will be focused on Lankman and specifically the Lankman Foundation's archives. Now, obviously we know next to nothing about this, but we can speculate using some of the theory stuff I've been cooking up to like kind of get a little bit of a gist as what to be on the lookout for. I personally reckon that this next upload will kind of be like a documentation of what happens to Officer Kruger, and after a while, I believe that this will actually result in Kruger joining forces with Lankman, which I mean might sound a little bit odd considering this literally happens.
Please help me. I just want to die. Why won't you let me die?
Because I still have use for you yet.
Yeah, Lankman might have a little bit of a hard time convincing him after that one. Good luck to him. Another thing that the whole, like, you know, Veldagoon infection theory kind of clears up is why Lankman is that. This. Like, what the fuck is this? This was just something that everyone just kind of, like, didn't even question. Like, oh, yep, he's this, whatever the fuck this thing is. Because apparently this thing is human. Like, okay. This thing is reportedly a human doctor. Not was, is. So I guess this theory kind of, like, cleans up that. It would mean that Lankman would just be an infected human. Maybe he found a way to actually counteract the virus or something, and then ended up doing the same thing for Officer Kruger. Like, that would make a lot more sense, wouldn't it? Sure, they would both still look majorly fucked up, hence why Mr. Noodle Arms over here still has a doctorate's degree. But being able to save Kruger from the insanity of becoming a Veldagoon would honestly do a pretty good job of convincing him to come to your side. And plus, these teasers show Lankman working with a guy with a face covered in bandages, which I mean, it's probably him, right? Also, this guy looks sick as fuck, check out those shades. But I guess we will never know until episode 4 comes out and completely disproves everything I've talked about in this video, which will be actually funny as fuck. But when it does, believe me, I will be there to cook up an equally dogshit theory. I will be there in the front row seats with my little notebook, as well as a rainbow hat with a propeller on it and a big lollipop. Also, I will definitely be covering the new upload as soon as it comes out. Like, second that thing drops, boom, that is my like top priority. So let me know of any theories you guys have about the series so far. Like, who knows, I might even cover them in the next video. But in the meantime, if you're looking for more stuff like this, then luckily I've got a pretty nice pile of it sat on the channel right now. So if you want to go check out any of that spooky content, feel free, you know? And plus, this channel's still, like, pretty new, so I mean, hey look, if you subscribe, right, you get bragging rights. That's like confirmation from me, right? When this channel has like 27 bajillion subscribers, you know, you can be like, wow, I was like early and shit, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that just about does it for this episode. Thanks for hanging out, and thanks to the big man Pastra himself for making such a sick-ass series. Like, damn, this video was just so much fun to make though. And also, just thanks so much to Pastra in general for showing me that it's actually possible to get your stories told and out there. As an artist and a storyteller myself, it's something I've always been really doubtful about, as to whether or not it's even worth trying to tell stories if no one will even listen to them. And independent works like Dreams of an Insomniac doing so well just remind me that it is possible, and that maybe one day I can tell my own story. So if you made it to the very end, just thank you so much, that's fucking incredible, and I hope to see you next week for whatever the next thing ends up being. So yeah, lift high weight, hydrate, like and subscribe, bitch. Woo!